Wow, it's been a whole 30 minutes and the Jed Labadesk has yet to respond to my video. I guess he is just a big baby. I guess he knows that deep down in his insides everything I said was true. The fraudulent, annoyingly manicured Paul Thomas Anderson is a hack and a little whiny baby. Resident Evil Retribution is way better than the Master. Let me explain. It's inevitable that Paul Thomas Anderson's artistic ambitions should be unavoidably juxtaposed to Paul W. S. Anderson's artistic success. Their differences immediately reveal how a pseudo-serious indie artist fails the aesthetic and emotional impact of commercial craftsmanship. The Master, a Roman Aleph about Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard and his paradigmatic follower, is a dull, nihilistic and mean-spirited presumption of cultural history, whereas the futuristic fantasy of Resident Evil Retribution turns nihilism into apocalyptic pop. This is the classic white elephant versus termite art parallel once coined by critic Manny Farber, memorably dubbed Pind, as in the huckster showman Pind Barnum by New York presser Godfrey Cheshire. Paul Thomas Anderson makes big movies that resemble the 1960s studio epics today's film geeks never experienced, and so become fools for the highly hyped affectations of a brand name charlatan. The Master's opening sequence, an extended pantomime of a World War II sailor's shameless perversities, presents Freddie Quell's Joaquin Phoenix sexual exhibitionism as if defining his character. Its blatancy is similar to the puritanical bluntness about the porn industry in Pind's Spooky Nights. Quell symbolizes the neurosis prone to authoritarian exploitation, essentially a coming-of-age story. The Master's bad father figure is cult leader Lancaster Dodd, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, doing the same psychotic mastermind as in Charlie Kaufman's Unbearable Synecdoche. NY There's a similarity to Pind and Kaufman's egotistic conceits. They trade on smartness, and both directors are incapable of providing an enlightening, entertaining vision. Resident Evil Retribution doesn't sell big ideas or controversy. It continues the video game-based series that Paul W. S. Anderson has essayed 3 previous times, always growing. Anderson's taste for the kinetic excitement that gaming has in common with cinema inspires him to turn gaming conventions into idealized pop myths. Serious ideas about our entropic destiny are used to confirm humanity's positive will as embodied by resilient Alice. Athletic, emotive Miller fulfills the warrior promise of Sigourney Weaver's Ripley and shows a convincing maternal gentleness in a terrifying domestic tangent. This universal lesson opposes the Master's cynicism, in which Pind's vague storytelling alludes to notorious religious beliefs then particularizes its exposed with pessimistic displays of Quell and Dodd's actorly neuroses. It's a secularist epic for audiences of the vampire age who don't believe in religion anyway. There's no possibility of rebirth or conversion, just suspicions of torture as Dodd manipulates Quell to follow orders and reveal his pain. Yet Alice, in a wasteland rather than wonderland, meets cynicism head-on and does spectacular battle with it. That used to be the purpose of movies, at least until the indie era permitted disaffected filmmakers to obfuscate moral predicaments with narcissistic indulgence. Plus the whole thing smells like a piece of dog shit. LOL dog shit bitch. Resident Evil Retribution reworks popular notions of dystopia. While Pind means to impress critics, Paul W. S. Anderson has fun with 3D and has greater impact. His opening and closing sequences are unforgettable. In the first, Alice's tragic memory plays in reverse. Disaster is shown, equal to the opening of Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch, then remedied with a visionary optimism like Michael Jackson's Earth Song music video. In the last tableau, her beyond belief premonition creates a Eronymous boss cliffhanger. And throughout the film, Paul W. S. Anderson goes through the structures and levels of game playing the way epic poets and novelists went through varied events to describe the full tenacity of human experience. Set in the testing floor of a Soviet war experiment with soundstage times and red squares, then with the very modern vision of the White House, Resident Evil teases the idea of both movie and gaming fantasy. It puts the modern urge to survive faith in witty context. If you're indifferent to Scientology, the Master will see much ado about hoodoo. Given his trendy aversion to the subject of faith, Pind replays his antipathy toward religion, same as in There Will Be Blood. He reduces reprobate Quell and charlatan Dodds to method acting showing off. Phoenix, whose humpback and hair lip snarl/smirk recall a De Niro, Yokel and Hoffman's posturing again, exposes his script's grandstanding. The only subtlety is Pine's in-joke reference to Burt Lancaster in Elmer Gantry, Richard Brooks' 1960 film version of Sinclair Lewis' 1927 novel exploring religious hucksterism. This confirms that Pine doesn't just imitate his previous models Altman, Kubrick, Lynch and King Vidor. He's also inferior to Brooks. There will be copycatting. All that ballyhoo about the master being shot in 70mm means nothing in the digital cinema age. Too many oppressive home video close-ups waste technology specifically designed to give tactility to what might be lost in distant scope. Praising this shows ignorance about cinematography. Instead, the smart about movies crowd should be looking at Paul W.S. Anderson's aesthetics. Our photo album sequence compositing shots from the previous Resident Evils activates the screen's fields, planes, and composition quadrants. The story may be a relay of obstacles and levels that tests Alice's intelligence and perseverance. As I became more powerful, the human race became weaker, she worries, but the film stays lively, the action narrative relentless. Note, the best visual Pine can muster is an over-obvious jail cell scene that puts Id and Super Ego side by side. Compare that redundant ambiguity to the sequence where Alice confronts her manipulation by the Umbrella Corporation in a factory. The image of her robotic replication surely recalls Spielberg's AI, a summary reference for the Resident Evil series, but it also painfully signifies her political disillusionment. Not only that, it inspires her determination to fight on. The Master's cynical bombast defines the worst aspects of our anti-religious era. Its solemn audacity is unconvincing. Our fashion show scored to Ella Fitzgerald and a naked female's musical number recalling Eyes Wide Shut are two of the most embarrassingly banal sequences in recent cinema. The fun and fascination of Paul W.S. Anderson's Resident Evil, Retribution proves the work of a true cinema artist. It transforms a genre franchise with visionary newness. I hope this enlightens you. Go join the parents-teacher associations instead of liking Paul Thomas Anderson's